I mean, you do you.
Hello and welcome back to Baggies Out. I'm still Dieter, that's still Karen, and we're about to get into our highlight reel for flight number 1 of the Rio Grande Classic here in beautiful Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
Here you can see our pilots exiting from pilot briefing and handing out to the launch field. This is Morgan Chondo as he takes off from his launch site. Here we have Joe Candelaria, a little more rocky takeoff, but still a good launch into the skies.
We had a few pilots decide not to fly this morning. It is, of course, always up to pilot discretion whether or not they want to fly every morning. And some decided it was a little bit too windy for them. And of course, that is always an option to stay on the ground. But first, before we get into any of our tasks, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, our premier sponsors, Highland Balloon Repair and Bubba's 33.
Next up, we have our gold sponsors, followed by our silver sponsors, and of course, our bronze sponsors. Thank you to everybody you helped to make this event successful.
And we will go right into our tasks. For flight number 1, we had 3 different tasks for the pilots to perform. We had task number 1, a judge-declared goal. Task number 2, a hesitation waltz with 2 different targets that the pilots could choose from. And task number 3, a fly-on, which is a pilot-declared goal. And these tasks could be performed in any order. So the fly-on could be chosen, declared, and flown to before task number 1, that judge-declared goal. However, due to the winds, the JDG usually happened first, with the hesitation always happening after the JDG, but some pilots decided to have their fly on first, some decided to have it at the end.
Speaking of those winds, one of the things that we have here at Rio Grande Classic is a wind song that gives wind readings as well as speed and direction. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Dieter?
Sure. A windsond is basically a helium balloon that has a couple of sensors attached to it. So it goes up and it gives you heading and a couple of other things, but heading is really the important thing that we want to look at here. And this morning, we did not have a huge amount of steering. It was about 10 degrees between 240 to 250, give or take, and we can see that on a map. If we put all of the left and all of the right that we are able to get, that makes 2 different triangles. And if you put the kind of intersection between the JDG and that Hez Waltz A, unfortunately no one ended up making it to the Hez Waltz B, but here you can kind of see all of the available lines of flight for all of the pilots to possibly fly to, and where they want to put their fly on and where they want to choose their launch sites, because they have to do both of those things.
Right, that bottom triangle between the orange and the yellow, more so to the left of the screen there, is where the pilots are typically going to pick their launch site. That's going to put them in line for that triangle or that cone to the right, which is in line with the JDG, that judge declared goal, as well as Hez Waltz A, which is on track so that they can hit those and then either do that fly on before the JDG or directly after that Hez Waltz A.
And we did get a couple of really good scores for that task number 1, the JDG. So here are our top 3 performers of the first task here. Joe Herzl with the first place on task number 1. He had a very, very good throw here.
You can see that blue baggie out in the windup. Here's the toss, down to the target.
And just barely off center, that was the number 1 throw. 1,000 points for Joe Herzl off that one.
Next up, we have,
I believe it is
Corey.
Corey, yes, Corey Bloom.
Here's the toss for Corey, just inside the leg of the X, coming across. Corey is a new pilot to RGC out of Iowa.
And there you can see both the sponsor banner and the competition banner on the baskets.
Our third place finisher for the JDG, that judge declared goal, is Peg Bilson. You can see her dropping in with the racer-shaped balloon that she is in. we can do quick descents and ascents, and you can see her doing one of those quick descents here into the target. This one is actually in the arroyo, just off Chessman and Abrazo here in beautiful Rio Rancho.
You can see just arresting that descent, getting the baggie ready, pulling the red line just to not go up too fast.
Stall that ascent. Got the baggie in hand and the windup.
Just a little bit of a toss. And just within the legs of the X right there, and then a beautiful shot right overhead.
We move on to the overalls for the first task. And first we have Joe Herzl, 0.73 meters, giving him 1,000 points.
And right behind 0.91 meters, 998 points for Corey Bloom.
And in third, Peg Bilson, who we just saw fly overhead in that shot, 2.55 meters with a score of 9.78.
Jeff Ashworth in fourth place, 965 points with the measuring of 3.59.
And in fifth place, Alan Anderson out of Nevada with a score of 3.71, giving him a score of 9.64 to round out the top 5 for that first task. Moving on to task 2, we have some great shots.
Yeah, here Casey Schwemmer out of Kansas really speeding across this target, but he got a great throw despite the fast speed, just really nailing pretty much the dead center right there.
We spoke to Casey afterwards, and he told us he came across that target at roughly 20 knots. So we did have varying winds this morning. You can see as he ascends out of the target area and onto his fly-on.
Yeah, beautiful throw there. Here we see Peg coming in, but also Joe Herzl in that blue balloon a little bit closer to us.
Joe Herzl in third place on this second target, the Hez Waltz. This is Hez Waltz A, and the toss right there. As he comes across the target, you can see Peg approaching right behind.
And here we get to see kind of the fun Albuquerque winds, the Rio Rancho winds of those two balloons are give or take at the same altitude, yet are moving in two different directions. Some of that is momentum, some of that is just the unique geography that we have here in New Mexico. And then Rhett Herzl just coming screaming in across this target, similar to what Casey did.
And the toss.
And another just nailed target there for Rhett. Really good piloting. We can see that once again, just Rhett coming in.
And the toss again.
Toss right in the center of
patch.
the X. And then burning to stop that descent. And here we actually have a tie for first place on task number 2 with 0.53 meters. Casey Schwemmer and Rhett Herzl both getting 1,000 points.
And in third, just behind, is Joe Herzl with a score of 994 at 3.45 meters.
Jonathan Wright in fourth place, 987 points with a measurement of 6.23 meters.
And rounding out the top 5 is Mo Chando at 984. His distance was only 7.81 meters. Yep. Still anyone's game after this second target. Moving on to our third task, which is the fly-on, we have a video from Corey Bloom talking a little bit about his approach onto the fly-on.
And then my fly-on, I picked it plenty further out from my last one. I knew there would be quite a bit of steering, and I think I was like 4 kilometers from my second target to the fly-on, and so, you know, just pretty much flew straight at it and had, I don't know, 20-30 meters depending on where I hit my button. You never know, I guess.
Thank you, Corey, for that great speech on the fly-on task.
And here we can see the results for task number 3. Here, Jonathan Wright, only 12 meters out from where they declared 1,000 points.
And right behind Jonathan is Joe Herzl, 18 meters out with a score of 990.
And there, Corey Bloom, who we just heard from, a score of 976, 27 meters.
In fourth place from Albuquerque, New Mexico is Sean Spiker, 43 meters.
And here are the overalls after all 3 tasks. Joe Hartzell in first place, 2,984 points.
Right on his tail is Corey Bloom, who we saw in that interview with a score of 2,915 points.
Yeah, very, very close between pretty much all of these competitors. Jonathan Wright in third with 2,876.
In fourth place is Rhett Hertzel with 2,754.
And in fifth place, Peg Bilson with 2,646. But there are still 2 more flights to fly with 1,000 points up to grab for each task. So this is still anyone's game.
Come out and check us out and see all the targets and meet the pilots and watch. There's also a cash prize that the pilots are working to earn. With that, the pilots are competing in multiple competitions this weekend. We have the Rio Grande Classic as well as the New Mexico State Championship and rounding out with the Regional Championship. So lots of ways for our pilots to score, earn money, and take home trophies.
Absolutely. And here, towards the end of the flight, it actually calmed down quite a bit as all of these pilots had really soft, gentle, safe landings. And it was just a really beautiful morning for all who flew, and we hope to continue that for the rest of this long weekend. So we will see you tomorrow bright and early at 5:30 a.m. for the next briefing.
See you in the morning, and also come out and join us at the targets. We'll see you there.